We have a new coffee that we're getting ready to add to the lineup that I'm really excited about. So let's jump into the details here. So, flashing on the screen, you will see that we have a coffee from Kenya, which has been a while. This is the Kiawamaruru, which is extraordinarily hard to pronounce, but the coffee is also wonderfully delicious. So, it comes from Kenya, and this coffee was grown in central Kenya. And under producer, you'll see the Ramukia FCS, which is a growing co op. A lot like Ethiopia, Kenya, kind of the way the coffee industry is structured, it's less like big coffee farms and more of kind of like garden market farms. And in this kind of setup, the co-op has a really important role to play where they're kind of aggregating, scoring, and doing all the processing on the coffee. And this co-op in particular is really cool because they have like an on-staff agronomist that kind of helps the growers improve their growing practices, increase their yields, but also reduce or eliminate the need for things like pesticides and just kind of best growing practices. They also have a huge greenhouse that they use for their processing. So one of the big issues with processing coffee is it kind of depends on the weather. And once again, processing is the way that the cherry is removed from the coffee seed. And this is a really vital time in the coffee because depending on how well the processing happens will really have a huge impact on the overall quality of the coffee. So the best coffees from this co-op get the greenhouse treatment where they are processed and protected from kind of the weather a little bit by being sheltered. And this ensures I have really high quality coffee kind of coming out of this specific co-op. And variety slash varietals, you'll see there's a couple in there. Once again, there's not one specific farm. It's probably about 800 farms that are kind of being parsed into various lots. So you're going to get mixed varieties here. But in there, you'll see SL28, which is kind of a very prized coffee varietal because it has a lot of sweetness and complexity to it. So, and processing is double washed as kind of a version of wash processing. It gives us a really kind of crisp, clean, and consistent quality coffee. Once again, kind of done in that greenhouse, which is really cool. And Kenya's a unique origin in the sense that it certainly has a strong identity, where some coffees, whether it's like Costa Rica or Colombia or Guatemala, like really high-end coffees, but sometimes can be a little bit harder to pinpoint with that like true identity. Whereas coffee from Kenya is very noticeable and unique in the sense that it has both a really high acidity. Kenyan coffees are often prized for their acidity and the uniqueness of the notes that are attached to that acidity, but they also have a lot of body. Contrast this to Ethiopia, where you have a lot of acidity, but usually the coffees are a little bit lower bodied and a little more tea-like. So this coffee is loud, if you will. It's got a lot going on for it, and that is what you're either going to love or probably not like about this coffee. If we look down on our balance slider, we'll see that this is way in the adventurous category, which is why we have this coffee. So this coffee is not going to be the best fit for the air pot. It's going to be a little bit bright. It's going to be a little cutting, especially once your air pot kind of ticks past that 1 hour mark. But it's going to be really, really amazing for a coffee lover if it's brewed as a pour over. So as you know, we've done a lot of training and kind of tweaks to our pour over process. And this is where that skill comes in really handy, is to kind of give a coffee like this the justice that it deserves, because it's going to be really good, super fresh, and with that extra kind of care and attenuation that you could get with the pour over methods of brewing. So if there's a regular of yours that's a coffee lover, that's kind of into adventurous coffees, go ahead and pitch this coffee as a pour over to them, because it's going to be really, really fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, let's talk about what makes this coffee very delicious. So once again, it has a really high acidity. So it's going to lean kind of more into that sour range of taste. That's not a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is. And with that acidity, we get really kind of delicate notes of like hibiscus and grapefruit. Then it kind of has some like mango and like apricot stone fruit tastes. And this is kind of like the foot forward that this coffee has. There's some other notes in there that kind of attach like the sugar's browning, kind of sweet elements. But the thing that really kind of comes forward is this really complex and pretty acidity, kind of like, and when I say grapefruit, I almost mean like a grapefruit tonic water or something like that. Like it's kind of has this almost effervescent quality to it that is really special. And typically with these coffees, as we approach the top of the bell curve of quality, all the coffee's good, but the thing that makes a really good coffee exceptional is going to be the uniqueness of the notes and how those kind of balance and play off of each other. So I want to encourage you all to try this, give it a whirl on the Stag and kind of try to explore that a little bit. And it's just a really good way to kind of calibrate and see like when coffees are scoring up in that like upper 80s, 90s range, like what is that experience? And this is a great opportunity to get to experience that. So I hope you guys love this coffee. Let me know if you have any questions, and take care.